Chapter 36. Jean's imposing manner. Alexander raised his hand and wanted to slap Jean's face. Jean did not move. A cold glint flashed across her eyes. That gaze caused Alexander to suddenly stop his hand in midair. In an instant, he felt a chill run down his spine. He seemed to see a glimpse of Jean's mother in her. It made him feel terrified. Jean asked, "Do you want to completely ruin the little affection left between us?" Alexander's expression was ugly. He put down his hand fiercely and said, "Jean, you only care about yourself regardless of the reputation of our family. Don't think that I have any feelings for you. So, you're saying that I'm just a tool for profit. Not only me, but Jasmine and Joshua as well." Jean. Alexander was furious. Jasmine quickly said, "Sister, how can you say that about Dad? A family wouldn't talk about being a tool for profit. A family needs to help each other. Take me for example. If I can contribute to the Lawrences, I'd be very satisfied and proud. At least I'm not a useless person in the family. That's why you seduced Eden and exchanged yourself for benefits," Jean mocked. "Eden and I are truly in love. How can you speak so harshly?" Jasmine said angrily. At that moment, her eyes were red. Alexander looked at Jean's aggressive manner and said coldly, "Jean, look at the gap between you and Jasmine. Jasmine always sided with the Lawrences, whereas you only sided with yourself. You're so selfish, so what right do you have to question my feelings for you? When you were 18 years old, you were still young and impulsive. Now that you're 25 years old, you're still like this. How do you think I should treat you? For the so-called interests of the family, I should sacrifice myself." Jean laughed sarcastically. "When I was 18 years old, Eden and Jasmine cheated on me. When I was seeking justice for myself, you forced me to admit that my relationship with Eden was broken in order to continue the marriage with the Swans. You even asked me to give them my generous blessings. I went to the Swan family's residence to ask Eden for an explanation. When I came back, I was beaten half to death by you with a whip. I was even chased out of the Lawrence family's manor. I was cheated on, but because I didn't accept it generously, I became a heinous criminal." Alexander was rendered speechless by Jean's words. Jonathan said coldly, "The interests of the family can't be violated. No matter what grievances you've suffered, you must put the family first. You didn't stand on the side of our family, so it was a heinous crime to us." Jean smiled again. She said, appearing unusually calm, "So, you don't have the slightest bit of guilt for what happened 7 years ago. It was all my fault. 7 years later, the same thing happened to me, and it's still my fault. I thought you understood 7 years ago." Jonathan was indifferent. "Does that mean that as long as it's beneficial to the family, I can do anything?" Jean raised her eyebrow. Jonathan affirmed, "Yes, that means that if Eden and I can get back together, I can also become a Swan and bring benefits to the family." "Sister, are you crazy?" Jasmine interrupted Jean and could not help but say, "Eden and I are about to get married soon, and you're saying such a thing now." "Shut up." Jean faced Jasmine in an imposing manner. "When your oldest sister speaks, do you have the right to interrupt?" Jasmine's face turned red from Jean's words. Jean did not even look at Jasmine. Her contempt for her was so obvious. At that moment, Jasmine wanted to strangle Jean to death. What right did Jean have to act like the eldest daughter of the Lawrences? Who did she think she was? Jennifer was such a scheming and shrewd person. At that moment, she almost could not hold herself back. She forced herself to calm down. Jean continued, "Grandpa, is that what you mean? As long as you can do it?" Jonathan said coldly. "Okay, I understand," Jean said, "as long as I can bring benefits to the Lawrences, I can do whatever I want. The thing now is that you've caused the Lawrences to lose a huge sum." Jonathan's expression was ugly. "What you have caused us to lose isn't the $300 million financing project, but the market space of billions of dollars in the future. How do you think I should settle this debt with you?" In the study, Jasmine was so angry that he was about to explode. When she heard that Jonathan was going to settle the debt with Jean, her mood instantly improved. At the age of 18, even though the Lawrences were cruel, Jean did not lose an arm or a leg. One had to know that back then, the Lawrences' business continued to fall because of Jean's troubles, and the Swans almost broke off the engagement with the Lawrences. Jean had to thank Jasmine for not being beaten to death by Alexander. She had to thank Jasmine for finally being together with Eden, as she did not let the marriage between the Lawrences and the Swans fall apart. This time, Jasmine sneered to herself. This time, Jean had forced the Lawrences to suffer such a big loss. Jasmine did not believe that the Lawrences would let her off so easily. Jasmine was even thinking about how to torture this woman to release the hatred in her heart during this period. Jean faced the furious Jonathan. She said calmly, "The reason I refused to help Thegis and broke off the engagement with the Locks was for the Lawrences." "Jean, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you." Jonathan interrupted her. "Didn't Dad tell you what Fourth Master Swan said to him last night?" Jean was unwilling to show weakness. Jonathan frowned. Alexander said, "Fourth Master Swan made a passing remark. Since when did you think Fourth Master Swan talks nonsense? Fourth Master Swan and Eden have a competitive relationship. Fourth Master Swan is afraid that Eden's development will affect his position in the Swans, so he can't wait for Eden's power to weaken. Naturally, he doesn't want the Lawrences to prosper. I'm afraid you think too highly of Eden." Jean was sarcastic. Alexander was angered by Jean's disdainful tone. Just as he was about to open his mouth, Jean said bluntly, "The Locks are facing bankruptcy." The moment she said that, everyone looked at her. They did not believe her at all. "Don't spout nonsense here," Alexander said to Jean, "the Locks have a lot of money. Although the market hasn't developed very well these few years, it doesn't mean that they're facing bankruptcy. How long are you going to spout nonsense?" Jean felt tired talking to the Lawrences. She took out her phone. Luckily, she did not throw it away last night. She tapped on the news and looked at the financial news headline. Afterward, she placed her phone directly in front of Alexander. On the screen, there was a piece of breaking news that said, "The Lock Enterprise has failed in their investment and is unable to repay their bank loan. They might face bankruptcy." In actuality, saying that they might face bankruptcy was just a euphemism.